Cid Kagenoh, a man whose life philosophy was forged in the crucible of a hot spring, reflected on his past. There was a time when he forsook bathing for training, a noble sacrifice for the sake of figuring out how to punch a nuke. Of course, a true mob character couldn't reek, so quick showers were a necessary concession to blending in. He was, after all, a very busy man. The existential dread of his quest, the sheer impossibility of repelling nuclear fission with a fist, had nearly broken him. He'd questioned his sanity, the very limits of his species. Could it be that one can't actually repel a nuke with a right punch? He'd wondered, a thought that would crush a lesser man. But then came the turning point, a revelation delivered by the very thing he'd dismissed as a waste of time, a nice long soak. As he stared into the sunrise, the clouds of doubt in his heart dissipated. It was in that moment of profound clarity, towel modestly draped, that he reached the only logical conclusion. To defeat nukes, he would need magic. And so Cid found himself in another hot spring, a true connoisseur of the art. In fact, you could even say that hot springs have made me the man I am, he declared to the empty air, striking a heroic pose. A sharp voice cut through his reverie. "Oh, sit down already, you're blocking the view." It was Princess Alexia Midgar, ruining his moment of solitude. He'd hoped to be alone, but there she was. She asked if his wound was better, her tone dripping with mock concern. Cid feigned ignorance, forcing her to clarify. The wound from when she accidentally sliced him to bits. He dismissed it as nothing, and she offered the most backhanded apology imaginable, relieved she wouldn't be a murderer. She then changed the subject, asking what he was doing in town. He explained he was invited by a friend to see the goddess's trial. Alexia, surprised by his ignorance, condescended to explain the event. Once a year, the gates to the sacramental grounds open for ritual fights. Challengers summon the memories of ancient warriors to test their mettle. Cool, they're fighting ghosts, basically, Cid thought, his inner child delighted. Alexia quickly shot him down, noting that not just anyone can participate. The summoned hero reflects the challenger's own power. If no one answers, you're simply not worthy. She revealed she was there as a guest and to investigate rumors about the Archbishop, a task for the Crimson Knights. She dangled information as a recruitment tool, but Cid shut her down instantly. No way in hell. An awkward silence fell between them. Alexia, ever the princess, tried to regain control by teasing him. "It can't be easy to share a bath with a dazzling beauty like myself," she purred, splashing water playfully. Cid, unimpressed, retorted that the sunrise was far brighter. "Which is why you shouldn't be so fixated on my Excalibur either." Alexia scoffed at his audacity. Undeterred, Cid decided to give her a show. "For when the holy sword is pulled from its scabbard," he began, rising dramatically from the water, letting his towel fall in a magnificent arc, "the unleashed blade shall set out to lands of ruin." He struck a pose, leaving a bewildered princess staring at his departing naked form. Far away, someone else looked up at the sky, sensing a strange power. In a grand, empty hall, Alpha contemplated her mission. She walked past towering windows, her mind on the hero Olivier and the tangled web of history. She stood over the cooling corpse of Archbishop Drake, a sword still buried in his chest. "And you, Archbishop Drake, what is it that you were hiding?" she mused aloud. "Who killed him? Was he silenced by his own people?" The dead, of course, offered no answers. It didn't matter. All would be revealed when the gates opened tomorrow. The city of Lindworm was alive with the festival. From a rooftop, Cid Kagenoh surveyed the scene, savoring the delicious irony. Because it gives off that but behind the scenes stuff was going on vibe. He narrowed his eyes, preparing to deliver a line worthy of an eminence in shadow. He touched his chin, a faint, knowing smile on his lips. And so it begins. He transformed into shadow, cloak swirling as he spouted random, cool-sounding nonsense to himself. He then leaped from the roof, a phantom gliding through the night. He landed silently in a cobblestone alley. A man stumbled out of the darkness, panicked. "Who are you?" The man was frantic, babbling about the church, clearly a witness to something terrible. Shadow, however, smelled blood and came to a much simpler, more exciting conclusion. He must be some bandit, he thought with glee. The man, mistaking Shadow for an accomplice, drew his sword. "As you enter the darkness of night, you come into our world." Shadow smirked, raising a gloved hand with a snap. "And here none shall escape." A flash of dark energy, and the man's head went flying. A new figure stepped out of the shadows, sword in hand, a cheerful smile on her face as the corpse rolled to a stop. "Long time no see, my lord." It was Epsilon, the fifth of the 7 shades. Shadow complimented her on the long-distance magic slash. "Well done, Deadeye Epsilon." Epsilon beamed, smugly declaring how hard she had been working on her investigation. She was prideful, but her control of magic was second to none. She quickly got down to business, explaining that their target, the Archbishop, had been killed by the church's own executioners, and that the man she just dispatched was one of them. "Therefore, we're shifting to Plan B, with your blessing, of course." Shadow, having absolutely no idea what Plan B was, played along magnificently. He posed a vague, dramatic question about her resolve. Epsilon, completely misreading his cluelessness as profound foresight, gave a passionate speech about their readiness to become enemies of the church and shoulder any infamy for his sake. "That will do," Shadow said with a cool smile, dismissing her with a wave. "Do not fail me." The next day, the goddess's trial began. With Archbishop Drake having left on urgent business, a man named Nelson took the stage. From the stands, Alexia watched with suspicion. Nelson had stonewalled her investigation into the Archbishop's murder. She didn't like him, and she didn't like the shady novelist Natsume sitting beside her. Someone had clearly wanted the Archbishop silenced. The so-called genius novelist was obviously a suck-up. "And she's showing off her décolletage on purpose," Alexia fumed internally. Natsume, Beta in disguise, adjusted her chest with a smug lift. Alexia glared, annoyed by the blatant display. Beta, meanwhile, seethed with her own jealousy. "How I detest this Alexia," she thought, imagining herself being rescued by Lord Shadow instead. She fantasized about being carried in his arms like a princess. Between the two feuding shades, Rose Oriana blissfully sipped her drink, oblivious to the crackling tension. From a higher balcony, Cid watched them, utterly misreading the situation. "Looks like those three are getting along," he mused. Down in the arena, the first bout was announced, and Cid settled in, bored. A dome of light enveloped the arena, a barrier that wouldn't fall until a victor was decided. The first challenger, a warrior named Anna Rose, stepped forward. Her footfalls echoed in the massive space. A shimmering light coalesced before her. A ghostly warrior took form. The two clashed, and Beta identified the spirit as the warrior Bolga. Anna Rose fought with impressive skill. With a final, powerful thrust, she pierced the spirit's chest. The warrior faded into motes of light. The crowd roared as Anarose was declared the victor. Cid watched, unimpressed. He'd seen enough to understand the gimmick. The summoned warrior matched the challenger's strength. Most challengers were weak, losing pathetically or failing to summon anyone at all. Anarose was clearly an exception. Yawning, Cid decided to wait for Alpha's turn, assuming that's why he was here. Suddenly, the announcer's voice boomed across the stadium. A young man from the Spell Sword Academy of Midgar, Cid Kagenoh! Cid froze in horror, his mob character dreams shattering around him. I'm damn sure I didn't fill out any entry forms! His classmates cheered him on, pushing him towards the arena. From her seat, Rose Oriana smiled, her heart aflutter. If you managed to show your strength at the goddess's trial, people would accept the love between you and a princess of Oriana, me, she thought, convinced this was all his grand plan. She had, of course, filled out the application for him. She was the culprit. Cid was trapped. Running would cause a scene. Fighting would expose his power. His mind raced. Then, a brilliant, insane idea sparked in his eyes. There's only one way out! A sudden violent gust of wind tore through the stands, sending the ladies' table flying. Nelson, the announcer, looked up, startled. Rose, Alexia, and Beta scrambled to their feet. Rose checked on a disheveled Miss Natsume. Beta, her disguise ruffled, could only point in shock. Alexia and Nelson stared, mouths agape. Down on the arena floor, where Cid Kagenoh had been, a heeled boot stepped onto the stone. A figure in a familiar black coat stood over the cowering form of the last challenger. I am called Shadow, he declared, his voice echoing with theatrical gravitas. Dormant memories of these sacred grounds. Tonight you shall be set free by our hands. The crowd erupted. Rose and Alexia were horrified. Nelson scowled, recognizing the infamous name. Gather the holy knights, he bellowed. We can't let him escape. Beta watched, her mind racing to justify this unexpected turn. Something must have come up that forced his hand, she concluded, her faith unshaken. Shadow, meanwhile, was ecstatic. His cover everything up with the appearance of a mysterious, powerful guy plan was a smashing success. He struck a pose, pouring his magic into the summoning circle. A blinding light filled the arena. Everyone stared in shock. Ancient runes, unfamiliar to most, swirled through the air. A massive explosion of power rocked the stadium. Beta recognized the script. Aurora? She whispered in disbelief. Nelson screamed, realizing the impossible was happening. Did he actually summon her memory? Was Shadow chosen by her then? From the light, a figure emerged, a woman of impossible beauty and terrifying power, with long, flowing dark hair and a faint, knowing smile. The Witch of Ruin, Aurora, had answered the call.